Welcome everyone to the Endless Stories channel, where you will find with us the pleasure of listening to many interesting stories. If you like today's story, do not forget to support us with the subscription and like button. We leave you to listen to the story.
Part 1: The Mysterious Legacy. In the heart of Europe, in an isolated area far from the bustling cities, the castle of Salamida has stood for hundreds of years. Local legends tell that the castle has witnessed all kinds of wars, conspiracies and betrayals, and has always been associated with something mysterious and frightening surrounding its walls. The last Lord Van Ridge, Alistair Van Ridge, is said to have been an eccentric, reclusive person, obsessed with alchemy and the search for the secrets of immortality. After his mysterious disappearance in the 18th century, the castle became abandoned, and rumors began to spread about the existence of a legendary treasure buried by the Lord somewhere inside the castle. In modern times, where people rarely care about these old tales, orphan siblings, Sophia and Leo Van Ridge, receive a strange letter from a lawyer they had never known before. The letter referred to an unexpected legacy, the castle of Salamida. The siblings had no idea about the castle, or this mysterious relative who left them this legacy. But the circumstances they were living in, after the death of their parents, made it difficult for them to ignore it. Their lives had been filled with pain after the tragic accident that took the lives of their parents, and they decided that this legacy might give them a chance to escape everything and start over. When they arrived at the castle, the first sights were both enchanting and majestic. The ancient stone walls stretched out over vast areas, and the castle's central tower loomed over the surrounding land. There was a constant sense that the castle was silently watching them, as if it held secrets far deeper than what was apparent. From the moment they entered the castle, a series of strange events began to occur. Mysterious voices echoed through the dark halls, and the brothers began to feel as if they were not alone. The air inside the castle was unnaturally cold, even on sunny days, as if something was hovering over these ancient walls. One night, while the brothers were exploring the huge library inside the castle, Sophia came across a shelf of books moving unnaturally. Gently pushing it, the wooden door opened to reveal a secret compartment behind the wall. Inside the compartment was an old wooden box with symbols carefully engraved on it. Sophia opened the box carefully and found inside an old diary and a map. Part 2: Van Ridge Secrets. While examining the diary, Leo discovered that the writings belonged to Lord Alistair Van Ridge himself. It wasn't just a daily diary. It contained deep family secrets, research into immortality and supernatural powers. Lord Alistair was searching for a secret that could make him transcend the boundaries of life and death and become immortal. But over time, he realized that the price might be higher than he expected. The diary talks about the secret under the wall, a mystery that has baffled many researchers and adventurers over the years. It refers to a hidden place deep within the castle, where a great treasure was buried. But the treasure wasn't just gold and jewels. There was something much darker and more dangerous associated with this treasure. The diary suggests that whoever tries to find it will encounter forces they can't control. The map they found was old and filled with mysterious symbols. It contained drawings of the castle, but they weren't exactly true to reality. There were mysterious details about hidden passages and false walls that they didn't know anything about. Driven by curiosity and a desire to discover their family's past, the brothers decided to begin their search for this secret. The next day, they headed to the basement, a place they had never visited before. The basement was dark and damp, and the walls were covered in moss. The air was filled with an old smell and the dust of centuries past. Leo began to examine the walls carefully, using the old map in his hands. After hours of searching and examining, he noticed a narrow crack in one of the stone walls. The wall seemed normal, but when he gently pressed on it, a part of the stone moved, revealing a narrow passage. Part 3: The Journey into the Unknown. The brothers armed themselves with torches and set off through the narrow passage. The path was dark and winding, and the walls seemed to narrow as they went deeper. After a journey that lasted for several hours, They ended up in front of a huge stone door with strange inscriptions that they could not explain. When they opened the door, a secret room was revealed before them, filled with artifacts and symbols engraved on the walls. In the center of the room was a huge stone coffin surrounded by many ancient chests. The brothers opened the coffin to discover inside a golden chest that was carefully decorated. When they opened the chest, inside was a huge treasure of jewelry and gold coins. But amidst the treasure, there were ancient letters, written by Lord Alistair Vanridge himself. In these letters, the Lord revealed a terrifying truth. He had discovered the secret of immortality. But he discovered that this secret was linked to an evil force that could not be controlled. The treasure buried in this room was part of a greater sacrifice to make a deal with a mysterious entity. The deal would grant him eternal life, but at a high price, the souls of his family. The brothers were horrified to realize that the castle was not just a deserted place, but home to a hidden force that was waiting to return. They had to choose between keeping the treasure and using its power, or destroying the secrets left behind by Lord Vanridge, to protect themselves and the world from a curse that could unleash uncontrollable forces. Part 4: The Curse of the Castle. When Sophia and Leo realized that the treasures before them were not just piles of gold and jewels, but part of a damn deal, their hearts were filled with panic. The inscriptions on the coffin were more than just ancient decoration. They were a clear warning to anyone who dared to approach. Sophia whispered in a low voice, "We must leave. There is something evil here." But Leo, moved by the excitement and mystery, looked at the letters and treasure again, and said, "And if this is an opportunity, there might be a way to use what Alistair found differently. Maybe we can control the power and direct it in a way that benefits us." Sophia stared at his face, trying to understand what was going on in his mind. "We saw how Alistair ended. We cannot repeat the same mistake. This power is not something to be trifled with." Despite this dialogue, Leo was not entirely convinced. He was possessed by an obsession, similar to what Lord Alistair had felt in his final days. Things were starting to take a different turn. The conversations between them became tense, and the palace began to feel more burdensome than ever. What had started as simple curiosity soon turned into an encounter with something much bigger than they had imagined. Over the following days, other signs began to appear in the castle. Shadows moved inexplicably through the halls, and doors opened and closed on their own. The glass windows would shake strangely even when there was no wind outside. The brothers began to hear faint noises at night, as if the castle were speaking an incomprehensible language. The situation was becoming more dangerous with each passing day. One night, as Leo was once again examining the letters Lord Alistair had written, a page he had ignored appeared before him. On this page, the Lord was clearly warning that the power he sought was uncontrollable, and that anyone who sought the secret would meet a dark fate. There was a hint of something deeper than immortality itself. Whoever tries to possess this power will become its slave. Part 5: The First Encounter. That night, Sophia decided that they had to face the truth head-on. She knew that the only solution was to destroy these mysterious forces before they completely took over. She tried to convince Leo to give up the treasure and leave the castle behind. But Leo was already in a deep thought. "If there's a way to control it, we have to find it, Sophia. We can't run away forever." As they argued in that dark room, the ground suddenly shook. The sound came from the walls as if something was trying to break free. Small stones fell from the ceiling, and dark shadows began to appear and move around them, as if the entity that had been hidden all these years was beginning to awaken. Sophia grabbed Leo's hand tightly and ran outside with him. But they were too late. The castle began to change around them. The corridors they had known had turned into an intricate maze, and the voices that had been quiet whispers were now angry shouts. The air was getting heavier, and the shadows were closing in on them as if trying to catch them. As they tried to escape, Sophia felt something a few steps away from her. When she looked back, she saw a mysterious entity resembling a tall person but completely intangible. It stared at them with empty eyes as if waiting for the right moment to intervene. Sophia shouted, "We have to get out now. There's no more waiting." But Leo, who was becoming more and more fascinated by the entity, paused for a moment. He was trying to communicate with it somehow. "Who are you? What do you want from us?" He wasn't waiting for an answer. But the voice returned to him in his head, as if the entity was answering his questions. Asterisk asterisk, I'm what's behind the wall. I'm what you're looking for. Asterisk asterisk. Part 6, The Secret Revealed. After confronting the entity, the brothers discovered that the secret of the castle was not about physical immortality, but about the immortality of the soul. Lord Alistair Van Ridge, who had made a sinister deal with the entity, was trying to keep his soul alive by fusing it with an ancient power that had been imprisoned within the castle for centuries. This power was powered by the souls of the humans who tried to reach it, giving them false promises of immortality. But the price was terrible. Anyone who tried to use the power ended up trapped within the castle walls, their soul added to those taken by the entity. The castle itself was a prison for these souls, and the closer someone got to discovering the secret, the higher the price they paid. The truth began to unfold more and more. Sophia realized that Leo was about to fall into the same trap that Alistair had fallen into hundreds of years ago. But she was determined to save him at any cost. She tried to convince him to leave everything behind. But Leo was completely swept away by his obsession with the treasure and the power he believed he could control. In a moment of desperation, Sophia decided that the only solution was to destroy the entity and close this dark chapter of the family's history forever. She remembered some inscriptions she had read in Alistair's diary, which spoke of an ancient ritual capable of disabling the entity and returning it to eternal imprisonment. Part 7, Forbidden Rituals. The next day, Sophia began preparing the ritual. She gathered all the ancient materials she needed that were hidden in the castle, and rearranged the secret room they had discovered in the basement. She had to be precise with every step, because any mistake could mean releasing the entity entirely instead of imprisoning it. Meanwhile, Leo sat alone in another room, contemplating everything that had happened. He felt an internal conflict. Part of him knew that what Sophia was doing was right, but another part was clinging to the dream of controlling the power in his hands. The entity's voice was still whispering in his ear, tempting him with promises of power and wealth. As night fell, the preparations were complete. Sophia stood in the room, lighting the ancient candles around the stone coffin. She began to recite the spells written in the diary, using everything she had learned about the entity and the ritual. The air was charged with energy, and the ground began to shake once again. At the crucial moment, Leo joined Sophia. He had finally made up his mind. He would cooperate with her in destroying the entity and give up his false dreams. He stood beside her, holding her hand, as she continued to recite the incantations out loud. Part 8, The End. The room began to fill with dense shadows, and the entity tried to resist. It tried to break free with all its might, but the ritual was strong enough to weaken it. With each word spoken, its power slowly faded. The voices heard in the castle began to quieten down, and the doors that had been opening and closing on their own stopped moving. Finally, with the ritual over, the entity disappeared completely, and the castle returned to its calm. The chains that bound the spirits in the castle were shattered, and the place was finally free of the curse. Sophia and Leo walked out of the castle together, leaving everything behind. They knew that the life ahead of them would be completely different. The secret beneath the wall was not just a physical treasure, but a reminder that true power lies in knowledge and the ability to make the right choices. Salamid Castle transformed from a place of terror to a symbol of freedom, as the brothers left the castle feeling anew inner peace.
And now we have reached the end of our story. We hope that you liked the story. We remind you again that if you are not subscribed to the channel, subscribe and activate the notification bell to receive all that is new. Until we meet again in a new interesting story.